Welcome back to the channel where we share with you the most insane true horror stories from all around the world. In today's episode, we will be sharing 5 true Walmart horror stories that you should never experience. So make sure to stay until the end to hear all of them. And also don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. Now let's get started with today's episode. No, 5. The Haunted Mannequin. A Reddit user shared, I used to work at Walmart as a seasonal stalker in my early 20s for the holidays. It was my first job ever, and it was a lot of fun. We were understaffed almost every shift, which meant we had to move fast and take on more than our usual duties. One of my coworkers and I had been asked to close down an entire end cap display and stock the rest of the store. My boss said, just leave the cart there when you're done, and I'll have someone else deal with it. At this point, I hadn't clocked out yet. So I grabbed some boxes and headed to the back of the store. As I was pushing the cart, I felt something grab my foot and it knocked me off balance. I looked down and saw that one of the plastic feet of a mannequin had come off and it had caught my shoe. I brushed it off and continued on to the next aisle. About 5 minutes later, as I'm reaching for some boxes on the top shelf, I feel something grab my foot again. I look down and see that the same plastic foot is now stuck between the big boards and the bottom of my shoe. At this point, I am definitely freaked out. So I go to the front of the store to clock out and tell my manager what happened. She just laughed and said something like, "Oh yeah, that old thing. Don't worry about it." Then she walked away. I'm sitting there watching her thinking, this has got to be some kind of joke. Then I start to panic. I can't get the thing out. I walk around the store trying to get it out. Nothing. I walk outside and start to walk to my car. Still nothing. By this point, I'm crying because I'm late to my next job, which is only 5 minutes away. I finally get it out when I'm in my car. The whole time, I'm half expecting the foot to be waiting for me in my car, but nope. Not even 5 minutes after I arrive at my next job, my phone rings. It was my manager calling me to let me know that they couldn't find the foot anywhere. I guess they didn't look very hard because they still haven't found it. I quit my next job immediately. It was not worth the stress. Plus, I was already working 2 jobs anyway. Number 4. Mysterious Black-Eyed Child. A Reddit user shared, this isn't my story, but a friend's. He was working the overnight stocking shift at Walmart when he heard screams in the electronics department. He worked up the courage to go investigate and saw what looked like a small child standing on a computer box, looking at him. The kid was maybe 3 or 4 and was just staring at him with pure black eyes, soulless. He tries to ask the kid if he needs help or if his parents are around, but the kid just keeps staring at him. He continues to stare at the kid and asks again if he needs help. Finally, the kid replies in a raspy voice, "No, I need your soul." As soon as the kid says this, my friend turns and runs out of the electronics section. When he gets out of there, he clocks out as fast as possible and drives home. For weeks, he couldn't stop thinking about the kid. Then he started having nightmares about the kid taking his soul. He eventually told his mom about the kid, and she convinced him that it was probably just a dream. But then one day he was in town and decided to visit his son at the store. To his surprise, the kid was standing right by the front door with black eyes. His mom screamed, and the kid replied, "Mom, we don't have much time." Then he turned to my friend, who instantly ran out of the store and into his car. The last time he saw the kid, he was running full speed towards the parking lot. Both his mom and his dad believed that the kid needed his soul for some sort of ritual or summoning. They can't imagine why he would want it, though. Because he was such a normal kid, he would always greet them with a smile and hello and seemed really happy. This was especially weird because apparently he lived with his parents in a rundown trailer in the middle of nowhere. No one in the neighborhood knew much about him and his family, but everyone agreed that he was a nice kid. No. 3. Aisle 6. A Reddit user shared, I worked at a big box store similar to Walmart. One night while I was doing my regular sales floor work, I kept hearing loud footsteps coming from the back of the store. I figured it was just a delivery. I tried to ignore it, but the sounds got closer and closer. I was in the automotive section when I saw a man running down the aisle with a huge grin on his face and blood all over his hands and clothes. He looked at me and screamed, "They're all gonna die tonight." Hey, hey. Then he disappeared into the crowd. I tried to get my manager's attention, but all she did was roll her eyes and keep bagging her lottery tickets. I guess I'm not surprised that no one believed me when I told them what I saw. No one at that store ever took any safety precautions seriously. After that incident, I never went into work without a pocket knife. And if I saw anything suspicious, I investigated. If I saw anyone that looked like they were up to no good, I made sure to scare them away before management had a chance to do anything. No. 2. Lurking in the laundry room. A Reddit user shared, "I used to work at a department store that had a massive annex building behind the main store. This annex was one giant storage room with aisles and aisles of cardboard boxes stacked to the ceiling. It was a maze back there. One day I was working a Saturday morning shift in the laundry section, which was in the annex restocking supplies. Around 11 I noticed a pair of dirty feet on the other side of the rows of cardboard boxes. Thinking it was weird but not really concerned, I finished restocking. Then I went to take a break. On my break, I went back to the laundry section to wash my hands. When I turned to the sink, I noticed those same feet walking toward me. Now I'm paying more attention. When I look up, I see a young boy, maybe 6 years old, wearing dirty clothes and holding a dirty blanket. I asked him if he needed help finding something, but he just shakes his head and walks past me without saying a word. I think it's weird that a kid is wandering around in the annex unsupervised, but I'm in the mindset of a typical teenager, so I just shrug it off. However, another employee tells me that the kid is not allowed back there and he must have snuck in. According to her, the kid was known to steal things and run off into the annex. A few days later, I'm working a closing shift and it's my responsibility to lock down the annex. That means checking each individual room to make sure it's empty before locking the doors. I finished checking all but one of the rooms, and I'm about to check the last room when I hear tiny footsteps coming from inside the room. I stand at the doorway and listen. I hear shuffling and dragging, like a blanket or something being dragged along the ground. I walk into the room and I see the boy from earlier dragging a large blanket across the room. The room is completely dark except for a crack of light under the door. The blanket stops moving and I call out, "Hey, you need to leave." The blanket begins moving again and I take a step forward. As I do, I see a pair of dirty feet come out from under the blanket and run away. I scream and run after him, but I can't find him anywhere. I eventually give up and go back to my post. I finish closing down and leave the annex locked up tight. The next day, I hear from my manager that the police had come by asking if we had seen a missing child. Apparently, the kid had been missing for several days. I go to my manager and tell her that I saw the kid in the annex, but she doesn't believe me. She says, the cops didn't find anything in the annex, right? There's no way that kid was back there. I just nod my head, but I know what I saw. I quit the next day. And no, Bathroom Stalker. A Reddit user shared, "I work at a retail store, and there is a community college next door. Students from the college often come into our store to shop or hang out. There was this one girl who would frequent our store, but she wasn't a student. She was actually a janitor at the school. I never had a problem with her until one day I was working in the bathroom restocking paper towels. She came in and stood at the door watching me. I ignored her and kept doing what I was doing. She didn't say anything. After a while, I got annoyed and asked her, 'Can I help you?' She said, 'No, sorry.' Then she went into a stall. 5 minutes went by and she came out of the stall and washed her hands. She dried her hands and left without saying a word to me. It's now about 7 at night and I'm closing the store. I go to lock the bathroom when I notice a pair of black high heels in the stall. I unlocked the stall and there was no one in there. I thought, great, the creeper from earlier must have snuck in here to wait for me. I tried to calm myself down and figure out what I should do. Should I call the cops? Should I wait for someone else to come in? What? I ended up staying in the bathroom for about 10 minutes before the creep came out. I peeked over the top of the stall and saw that it was just a female customer. I sighed in relief and went back to locking the bathroom. Just then, the creep from earlier came out of the stall and asked me, "Are you enjoying the show?" I instantly panicked. I screamed and ran out of the bathroom. She came out of the stall and started laughing. I could hear her laughing all the way from the front of the store where I hid behind the counter. I called the cops and waited for them to come. When the cops arrived, they searched the bathroom but didn't find anyone. They asked me what I saw, and I told them what had happened. The lead cop said, "Ma'am, I appreciate you calling us, but we can't do anything about this unless we catch her in the act." I nodded and thanked them. As the cop was leaving, I asked him, "What if I saw her again? Do I call you guys or what?" He said, "If you see her again, ma'am, call us and stay on the phone with us. We'll send someone right away." I thanked him and watched them drive away. For the next week, I checked the bathroom before going in myself. Each time I did, I saw those same black high heels under the stall door. I never said a word to anyone about seeing them again, and no one ever asked me about it. I quit my job the following week. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below with your thoughts about these stories. See you next time.